I've been hearing about the Ritz-Carlton Masai Mara for months. It is easily the most controversial hotel in the world. So as a luxury hotel reviewer here on YouTube, I flew all the way to Kenya in the Mara to get a real on-the-ground look of what's actually going on here and to give it a full, comprehensive review. This will be one you don't want to miss.
A new luxury lodge has opened inside the reserve. It is run by the Ritz-Carlton, the global luxury hotel brand. A court case in Kenya says the lodge sits on a migration route. It wants the property to be demolished. The case also questions how the project was approved in the first place. It asks why it received an exemption from rules.
I mean, we read burn the Ritz-Carlton down.
Now, before we get into the hotel, I want to walk you through the structure of my reviews. I review the world's leading hotels out of 50 points in 5 categories with 4 tests and dozens of criteria points. The categories are the ambiance, the room, the dining, the service, and the it factor. The reason this Ritz-Carlton is so controversial is primarily in the location. Apparently, due to the rising tourism and interest in the region, the Kenyan government put a moratorium or stoppage on new developments in the area. The one location left on the crucial border of the migration route and the Serengeti is where the Ritz-Carlton and the Marriott wanted to actually build. Apparently, they got a special exemption from the Kenyan government to create a favorable business relationship with Marriott, and that's where all of this started. I quickly want to mention that I was not paid in any way to do this review. I covered the flights myself, the crew, and paid full price for the stay. I'm also not a reporter, I'm a hotel reviewer. So some of the facts that I mentioned in this video could be contested or debated, and actually I welcome that conversation. So with that, let's start with the ambiance. Kicking off the ambiance section with the check-in process. So you arrive to the Mara airstrip by bush plane, and the Ritz-Carlton sends a safari Land Cruiser to come and pick you up and take you to the hotel itself. I'm sitting in the lobby of the Ritz-Carlton's first ever sub-Saharan property. This is also their first foray, thank you very much, into the luxury safari space. So it may be a first for the Ritz-Carlton with this hotel, but it's far from the first for the general manager. In fact, he's opened up hundreds of hotels around the world. And definitely stick around till the end of this video where I have an exclusive one-on-one interview with him where I ask the toughest questions to get to the bottom of what actually happened here. But there's a lot more to show you in the hotel first.
The rage and the frustration, it's like we caught a bullet. It's gonna get emotional, if you don't mind.
As we're walking around the property, let me give you a better sense of where everything is exactly. As soon as you get dropped off by your safari expedition cruiser, a short walk takes you to the lobby. The lobby is connected to the first of the 2 restaurants here, and across the way is the second restaurant. In between those 2, you have the main pool, and behind it is the photography studio and the map room. We'll take a look at all of that. A pretty long distance from this lobby area is the villas. Now this is where you actually stay as a guest here, and over here is the gym and the spa. It's a pretty large footprint that they have here, which is another one of the challenges online. All right, now that you know where everything is, let's go actually see it. Next to the lobby is the map room, and they say this is where you can chart the migration paths in the region, which leads me to another aspect of the controversy in the media. Apparently, the Ritz-Carlton Masai Mara was built in a crucial location right where 2 million wildebeest, zebras, and other animals cross during the Great Migration every year. This is a protected region where they have to cross a crocodile-laden river to get to the other side, and some of the man-made developments may be inhibiting that. It actually led to a very public lawsuit from the MERC against Marriott and Ritz-Carlton that vanished in the end of 2025. So I want to dive in a bit deeper. Speaking of diving, every suite here at the Ritz-Carlton has a private plunge pool. But if you want something a little more public, this is the primary pool. It sits right in the center of the hotel. It's well spaced out, as you can see, and has a crystal clear infinity edge overlooking the savannah and the animals. It's a front row seat as you're swimming here to what's happening in the nature out there. All of the pools here are warm, they are chlorinated, and they are very clean, even if there are a couple cracks in the concrete. Quickly on the architecture itself, it's very rare for you to find any straight lines here at the Ritz-Carlton. Almost every single building is naturally and organically curved to help it fit more and camouflage more into the environment. The views from the Ritz-Carlton Masai Mara are undeniably incredible, but it does make you wonder at what cost. You can see here, for example, that the riverbank has been modified. That kind of altering to the ecosystem can lead to some horrible drawbacks like calf separation for animals, increased predation, as well as injury. The Ritz-Carlton Masai Mara has front row seats to the Great Migration, and that sparked a lot of debate online. In fact, I read that it's actually technically illegal to build like this within 30 meters of the river. That's just what I read. Now, as far as I can tell, this isn't the case at all of the safaris and camps in the region, like Ishara and Singida and beyond in Great Plains. So this ambiance score is going to be a really challenging one to give. Also next to the lobby is the Whispering Tree Spa. Now this is one of the only things that is not included in your stay, and they have a relatively interesting spa menu here. They use some local ingredients like acacia tree and shea butter from the region, and the most interesting thing I could find was the grounding ritual of welcome to the wild. It's a foot scrub and a upper body massage, so I booked it to let you know how it is. Wow. I mean, you saw it yourself, but that was an incredible treatment. The therapist is insanely skilled. She actually told me she went to college out here in Kenya, in Nairobi, to learn massage therapy and had to compete to try to get this job at the Ritz-Carlton. Very, very knowledgeable, great massage, and all of their treatments start with that foot scrub that you saw. Generally, this is a plus for the ambiance segment. Whether you use it or not, the gym at the Ritz-Carlton is very beautifully designed. It's open air, so you're right here immersed in nature, and they have wellness advisors on staff that's included in your stay. So fundamentally, you can get personal training while you're here at no additional cost. Let's keep going. Now for the main reason that people would book this hotel, the Safari Expedition game drives. Included in your nightly rate, which I bet by now you're wondering how much it is, are 2 Safari game drives every single day. Those drives include binoculars, a guide of course, someone to help you with your gear, and any of the beverages that you'd like to pack along the way. I know it doesn't look real, but I'm standing here and it doesn't look real to me either. The delicate ecosystem that you can see here in the Mara is really what gives it that incredible allure. In fact, a lot of incredible species have actually gone extinct out here, including the lesser kudu, the oryx, and the roan antelope. But many species like the African elephant are still very much going strong. Walking around this property is like being immersed into the forest. The entire property is elevated off of the forest floor here, kind of like what we saw in the St. Regis Kenai. The grounds itself are pretty untamed wilderness, which I think is intentional. I've seen other hotels that I've reviewed where it's a bit more manicured, a bit more thoughtful where they're planting certain things, but here they kind of just let the wild take over, which I do appreciate, especially being in such a protected area. However, it does lead to a little bit less of a curated luxury feel when you're walking around, so just depends on your preferences when you stay at a hotel like this. Before the evening in the Mara, a Masai Maran in full regalia blows a horn to signal the transition from day to night. Shortly after that, they do a meditation in the spa, but the real showstopper here is the wild African night sky. The ambiance score. So some of the locations around this property are exceptional, like this bridge, the tented camps, the lobby, and the architecture generally speaking. Others, maybe not as much. They're a little bit empty in places, not as curated or well designed as other hotels, and generally speaking, when you're walking around, sometimes you can get lost or it feels like you're just spaced far apart from some of the things that are happening here. The spa was great, but not really that memorable, and the gym was excellent, so that definitely is a plus. So considering all of this, I gave the ambiance an 8 out of 10. Now there are 21 tented suites here that look incredible in the renderings online, but have gotten mixed reviews because of the quality. I'm gonna get in there and take a closer look. Once you move this Masai ceremonial spear to the side, this walkway takes you to your room. Once you get to the door, your room card is actually on your wrist. I want to get inside, show you around, and then talk about how much this goes for per night. Welcome to my room at the Ritz-Carlton Masai Mara. So the base room goes for, at the time of this recording, $3,500 US per night per person. The penthouse goes between $7,000 to $10,000 US per night per person. Assuming you're not staying here by yourself, most likely, that looks something like $7,000 a night and $14,000 a night. The base level room has a living room, but it's just on the other side, and 2 bathrooms, a bedroom, a plunge pool, 4 showers, yes, 4 showers in the base level room. The penthouse has fundamentally the same, just a much larger plunge pool and a secondary bedroom that is basically identical. Let's start with the bedroom. So much space. You have this kind of tarp tent exterior here, so it feels kind of like you're glamping, but that's mixed with this herringbone wood on the floor. They've done a beautiful job, and I'm not just saying that. This is a completely unbiased review. This is an extraordinary bedroom. Now there's a mosquito net because there are quite a few mosquitoes here in the Mara, but the bed itself looks so comfortable. So I'm gonna sleep in it tonight, give it a full review in the morning and tell you how it really is, but I can tell you on first glance, it looks pretty excellent. Separated in the bedroom is your bathroom, and in here you have a dual vanity and a Jane from Tarzan kind of mirror, which really feels like you are in Africa, which you are. Everything in here has that Ritz-Carlton modern clean feel to it, but it really does mix very nicely with the Masai Mara. Speaking to that, the materials are very high quality, everything is well designed. A couple of the reviews online said the opposite, but I did not feel that was the case. I can tell you firsthand, I'm here right now, everything is very, very high quality, including the shower, which I want to test right now. The shower test is 3 criteria points. That is the size, the ease of use, and the pressure. Starting with the size, you have a lot of space here. So much space, in fact, they could have put in a little bench or seating area, but chose not to for some reason, which is odd. Ease of use is also a little bit odd. There's 38 degrees here, which could be slightly confusing, and you have these 2 buttons. Now that's simple, which I very much so like. You push this one button, turns on the handheld, push the other button, and it turns on the rain shower. Now, the pressure is decent. It's definitely not a consistent, strong pressured rain shower like some others that we've seen. I enjoy a little bit more pressure in the shower. Maybe not as much as what we saw in Hong Kong, but definitely a little bit more than this. This is pretty soft. And so you can see that lack of pressure in the handheld here as well. It's kind of falling down. Definitely would just like to see a little bit more pressure in the shower. Even so, considering the size, the ease of use, and the pressure, the shower definitely passes the shower test. I want to take a look at the outside shower, which, yes, every room, base and presidential, has an indoor, outdoor, and another set of indoor and outdoor showers. This is more of a novelty, but it's definitely a cool perk. Quickly stepping away from the Ritz-Carlton Masai Mara to make a big announcement. I'm so thrilled to say I will be launching a newsletter. So at ryanwalkert5.com/newsletter, you can sign up, subscribe for free to get all of the reviews that are coming up, behind the scenes photos of these trips, special guests, fun facts, and so much more to come. Click the link in the description or head to ryanwalkert5/newsletter. But for now, let's get back to the Mara. I've always loved an outdoor shower. You can hear the noises from the forest around us. So peaceful. You have that crisp, clean air. There's no pollution out here. You have this matte black shower against that teak background. Interesting. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this one's not going to affect the shower test because it is a bonus, but it wasn't the easiest to turn on here. But now that it is on, you can see it's a fun addition to the room. How many other hotels have you stayed at that have 4 showers in the base level room? Back out to the living room for the amenities and the mini bar. So the amenities they put out for you when you check in are amazing. This is meant to represent the Maasai culture. This is all made out of chocolate. I'm definitely a sucker for things made out of chocolate on this channel, which is good news for this next one, which is a Ritz-Carlton engraved chocolate bar with avocado inside of it. Definitely excited to try that. And when you stay in the penthouse, they give you Ritz-Carlton water bottles and these 2 Ritz-Carlton bags as well. This is something I'll definitely keep for a long time. Whoa. The mini bar is like a cabinet of curiosities here, and everything you see is included in the nightly rate. That's everything from the drinks here down below in the fridge, to the chocolate-coated coffee beans and snacks, and this Nespresso coffee machine that is wrapped in a nice light leather, which I think just looks fantastic. The best part about this mini bar, you can have an unlimited amount of bottles of liquor in your mini bar. I mean, incredible. Your heated, chlorinated plunge pool in your villa. You are so close to the river here that you can basically feel the migration happening right below you. But by the same token, you're so close that they can feel your presence here as well. Back inside now, this room, generally speaking, is extraordinary. I truly just was blown away by every aspect of this room. All of the wood that you see in this room is from Kenya. The design feels like you are here in Africa. And we'll give it a full room score after I test that bed in the morning. I have been looking forward to sleeping in this bed all day. But before I do that, I want to call the front desk and order room service breakfast for a certain time tomorrow morning. A little bit later in the service segment of the review, we'll see if the breakfast showed up on time, if it was hot and fresh, and I always order the same thing, so we'll see if it's accurate as well. Before I give them a call, however, I want to talk about the turn down service. So turn down at a luxury hotel is when the staff come into your room and they set up the room for sleep. Usually there's a small amenity or something that they leave for you to take home. It could be a keepsake, it could be a chocolate. There was nothing like that here at the Ritz-Carlton, but they did put the mosquito net down and dim the lights. I also want to take a second to say if you're enjoying this video, please do like it and consider subscribing if you're not already. It really does help these videos get seen by more people like you. So with that, let's call the front desk and order that breakfast.
Good evening and thank you for calling Connect. How can I be of help?
Hi there, could I order a room service breakfast for tomorrow morning, please?
Yes, please.
Could I do a black coffee and an Eggs Benedict, please?
Eggs Benedict and black coffee. Anything else?
I think that's perfect.
At what time would you like the room service to be done?
Could I have it for 7 a.m., please?
Sure, 7 a.m. Great. Great. Have a great night.
Let's get some sleep. Really quick, and I didn't see this before, they heated up some hot water in a bag here, put it under the sheets to keep them warm so that when you get in it, the sheets are warm. Wow. All right, good night. Incredible night sleep. Everything it looks like and more. It is a perfect level of firm but comfortable. You have these soft plush pillows, which by the way, there's a pillow menu next to the bed if you want to change that at any time. And it is just so peaceful here. You can hear the animals through the night, here in the morning with the birds chirping. Definitely going to be a plus for the room segment. So, all else aside in this property, the management, the controversy, this is an exceptional room. It's hard to debate when you're looking here over the incredible Masai Mara. It is a massive base level room, even for that price point, extraordinarily impressive. There were only a couple of very minor negatives, like the shower, maybe the pressure could have been a little higher, and the turn down service before you go to sleep. Again, these are very, very small in an otherwise perfect room. So I gave the room a 9 out of 10. There are 2 main restaurants here at the Ritz Masai Mara. Everything that you're about to see is all inclusive. Yes, technically the dining here is all completely included in your stay as well. I'm going to test some of the most popular items, give it a dining score at the end. Good morning from the breakfast restaurant here at the Ritz-Carlton. So yes, technically this is the same restaurant as the one we'll see for lunch in a second, but I wanted to show you a couple of the breakfast offerings that would be the same if you had this out in the bush during a safari. Now, before the breakfast comes here, just really quickly, remember that this review, I'm looking at every category as a standalone segment. So the dining here is truly just the dining, the food, the atmosphere, and the staff. The service is going to be the service tests, and so on, completely independent of each other, and we'll talk mainly about the controversy that happened in the It Factor segment later. So I ordered the regional delicacy for breakfast here. This is scrambled eggs and chapati bread, which they also use in the other restaurants. Pretty simple dishes for breakfast, but really it's meant to be just a kickstart to your day. Remember, every single thing is included in all of the meals here, so you could technically go multiple times to lunch or dinner if you'd like to, and you're never gonna leave hungry. The chapati is almost like a buttery tortilla with the eggs is a really nice combination. They also have American breakfast, which is 2 eggs with bacon and hash browns. You can really get almost anything, and I'm sure they would make it for you. Other than that, they have Kenyan black tea, coffee, and most other things you would expect at a breakfast restaurant. For lunch now, this is the Canopy Bar and Lounge. It is an eclectic menu and it is brand new. So the chef himself came out and told me some of the recommendations that he has on the menu. I got those. We're gonna add it to the dining score at the end. So the chef mentioned this is the #1 lunch dish here at the Canopy. Very inventive, interesting dish.
If I had to pick an absolute favorite, it's our burrata dish because it's a zero waste dish. So the skins get used, it turns into powder, it turns into chips. The seeds get used to make tomato water. It highlights one ingredient, which I think is important as a chef, to highlight a local ingredient. Yeah, by far I think it's my favorite one on the menu.
Extraordinarily fresh. I love the combination of textures. It just gives your palate something really fun and exciting. Plus the creaminess and the richness of the burrata. Excellent, excellent dish here at the Canopy. I can see why it's the chef's favorite, and I hope they keep it on the menu. Really quickly, I want to talk about the plating at these restaurants. Any of these dishes could easily be served at any top restaurant anywhere in the world. But remember, all of them are included in your nightly rate at the Ritz-Carlton. So I did ask if a guest were to ostensibly sit and ask for anything on the menu as many times as they want, would there be a limit? And they said no. Any guest here can have as many dishes as they like at any time. I found that to be a huge contributor to the value, and we'll talk about that at the end. The final dish is here for lunch. These are the fish tacos. Once again, beautiful plating and presentation. Whoa, that is incredible. So they actually use an Indian-inspired chapati bread on the outside, as opposed to using maybe a corn tortilla. And what's funny about Kenya is there's a lot of Indian influences in the cuisine here, and I've noticed that in a lot of the different restaurants. This is just another win for the Ritz-Carlton dining section. I am so excited to try their dinner establishment here, and there's a little surprise in it as well. Dinner here and the main event is Nest. So the menu at Nest changes every day with what the chef recommends and what ingredients they have access to that day. However, most of the dishes revolve around traditional Kenyan food, as well as international dishes that use local ingredients from the area. If it's anything like the breakfast and the lunch, it's definitely going to be great. The main course has arrived, starting with this giant shrimp, almost lobster-sized shrimp here, and then two traditional Kenyan dishes, which I'm very excited about. The first is pilau, which is a rice with coconut, and the second is ugali, which is made out of corn, and there's a polenta underneath it. So I'm going to start with the ugali tonight. This is apparently a very traditional dish here, elevated and plated. It's very dense, and the polenta underneath is actually pumpkin. So it has a very strong pumpkin flavor mixed with a very hearty texture. But overall, this is something I recommend if you want to have a good meal and definitely leave feeling satisfied. The smell's amazing. Whoa. It has a tangy kick to it. The cream on top, I thought was a coconut. It's actually more of a yogurt. I've had some of the best rice in my life on this channel, like the rice with XO sauce in Hong Kong. But this one specifically has a very distinct flavor to it. Almost a sweetness to it mixed with the sour of the yogurt on top. Very interesting, unlike anything I've had. Look at this guy, oh my. Very dense, perfect thing to eat after a day on a safari, for example. The flavors are maybe so hearty that they feel maybe a bit blunt, if that makes sense. This feels more like we're eating a very nutritious, well-balanced meal, but doesn't have that culinary flair that can be an exciting component of a dining establishment. However, we haven't gotten the dessert yet, so holding judgment till that comes through. The dessert recommended tonight, this is a passion fruit meringue and a mango panna cotta. That was that electric, vibrant flavor that I was looking for all dinner. Something about having those traditional dishes that are inherently very hearty and very wholesome, and then having something like this meringue that has key lime in there and passion fruit and that citrus, the contrast and juxtaposition of the two really makes this a special end to the dinner. That is all of the dining here at the Ritz-Carlton Masai Mara. Let's give it an official dining score. Some of the dishes that I had here at the Ritz-Carlton were so vibrant, colorful, beautiful, and just so flavorful. Others were significantly less memorable. If you look at all of the dishes and consider the lack of diversity here as well, with, yes, a changing menu, but only a couple of different restaurants, I gave the dining an 8 out of 10. Luxury hotels like this are often made or broken by their service. It's also the most difficult score to give in this review. Luckily, I have some tried and true tests for the team here at the Ritz-Carlton that I can't wait to see how they handle. It is 6:56 a.m. The room service breakfast test came early, which is great, and it's also how the service overall has been here at the Ritz-Carlton. On time or early with everything at every dining establishment. The Eggs Benedict looks pretty fantastic. So you have this thick English muffin with salmon and the poached eggs on top. Of course, we need to cut those. See how fresh it is. So it's a little more over medium. See how it tastes now. I added some salmon to it. You know, I'm personally not a fan of lox in Eggs Benedict. It has a pretty fishy flavor to it. However, the plating is beautiful, and for the purposes of the breakfast service test, this is not the dining segment, they did a great job. Finally, best part of the day. Exceptional coffee. They passed the breakfast service test officially, but we won't know how the service is for sure until I give it that service test. The service test is the part of the review where I call the front desk, or in this case, my enciolik, which is a butler that gets assigned to your room, and ask for something that's a little bit challenging or that they're not used to hearing. I've asked for a lot of strange things on this channel in the past, and many of the best hotels have accommodated them. Here in Kenya, when I first arrived, KLM sadly lost my luggage. Now, I'm not an airline reviewer, but that was one of the worst flight experiences I've ever had. Because they lost my luggage, I had to quickly stop into a store and buy the clothes that you see me wearing right now that are about 2 sizes too small. Before you comment in the comments, I already know the pants are tight. Now, the Ritz-Carlton says that their butlers can accommodate anything, and there's that Ritz-Carlton rule that they can spend up to $2,000 per guest for any needs that they might have. I'm not looking for them to buy me clothes, but I want to see if they can help me out a little bit.
Thank you for calling the Guest Experience.
Hi there, I have a bit of an odd request for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the airline unfortunately lost my luggage, and so I've been wearing the same outfit all day, and I would love to have a change of clothes. This one's also a little bit too small. Is it possible to have someone from the team pick me up a couple of different changes of clothes by chance? I don't mind paying for them.
Oh, okay. Can you allow me just to confirm, then give you back a few, but that's okay right there?
No problem, I'll be right here.
Thank you.
All right, he's gonna check around and confirm, give us a call back. I hope he calls back because I have got to get out of these pants. Hello, Sir Ryan.
Hello, Mr. Walker.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, so I spoke to him, the gentleman, and he told me that you can meet with him outside of Gen 6. He has something for you.
Meet with him outside of Camp 6.
That is it.
Okay, I'll head there right now.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye. Kind of feels like I'm going on a treasure hunt. I'm gonna take you with me. Where is 6? I don't know what to expect here, but we're coming up on 6. Hello!
Hi.
We were coming to 6.
Oh, yeah, that's where I live.
Oh, really?
You needed some clothes? Yeah.
No way, not your own clothes.
That's what I was told, yeah.
Wow, that's so nice. Thank
I
you.
got that from Paris, too, so I got all nice stuff.
Really nice. Thank you so much. I'm doing that.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Cool. Look at that. Literally the clothes off of his back. What a fantastic end to the service here at the Ritz-Carlton. I want to talk a little bit more about the service team overall at this hotel, and then let's give it a score. But I've never seen something like that before. The staff here at the Ritz-Carlton are extraordinary. The Kenyan people are some of the kindest of any country that I've traveled to on this channel. That welcome ceremony when you first arrive will stick with me forever. Multiple welcome drinks, multiple different hand towels when you get off of the safari. The butler assigned to my room was very hands-on and wonderful. That service test was exceptional. I don't know many staff that would give their literal personal clothing to a guest just to make them feel more comfortable. They also passed the breakfast service test, so it's hard to find anything negative to say about the service. The only negative, at night, you have to be escorted around the property by a Maasai warrior that has a flashlight to make sure that there are no big cats that will attack you when you're here. That's how deep you are into this national park. Because of that, and the need to be escorted, it actually delays your traversing of this property pretty significantly. I don't know if that affects the score per se, but it was a little bit of an inconvenience. However, on the flip side, I'm standing here talking to you and I haven't been mauled by a big cat yet. The biggest question I had, however, was do the staff love this job? So I'm gonna walk around and ask a couple of the staff here how they feel about working at the Ritz-Carlton. What is it like to work here at the Ritz-Carlton?
I say it's an honor and a privilege. Guests will actually save a lifetime for a night here. Seeing a caravan of elephants, hearing the lions. Yesterday is gone, tomorrow is unknown, so we enjoy every moment to the full.
I had only heard about the Ritz-Carlton from the internet, so when I was finally going to be part of the 1% of people that work in the Ritz-Carlton, it was exciting, and it was the best gift that life gave me, I should say.
So as you can see, the staff very much love working here, and I absolutely loved my interactions with them during this stay. I gave the service a very high 9.5 out of 10. The last category, the it factor, is comprised of 3 different subcategories. That is the location, the value, and the unique nature of the hotel. Starting with the location, from a purely tourism perspective, you cannot get closer to the Great Migration and the big 5 animals naturally occurring in this region. However, from what I've read online, the Ritz-Carlton just got a little too close. There are videos that some have posted claiming to be guests that say they are turning around wildebeest that are trying to migrate, or that wildebeest themselves cannot actually get over the barriers that they've created in the river. So in theory, it's a wonderful idea to build something so close to the spectacle of life, something that I wish everyone watching this could see for themselves. But in practice, it's a little bit more problematic. This is without a doubt a unique hotel, but the online backlash has been ruthless. With over 26,000 people signing a petition to shut this hotel down and replace it with new tree growth. Reddit is going crazy. Other social media sites are blacklisting Ritz-Carlton from travel agencies, and the Ritz-Carlton themselves have not posted on this, and they've limited comments on the official Masai Mara account. I wish that all of the documents and research that I did didn't paint this unfavorable picture of this beautiful, beautiful hotel. And I wish that the incredible animals here could coexist with us humans spectating them. But after everything that I've seen, my gut is just telling me that that was not the case here at the Ritz-Carlton Masai Mara. For all of those reasons, provided that they're true, I gave the it factor a 0 out of 10. However, in just a moment, we're about to interview the GM, the general manager of the Ritz-Carlton Masai Mara. He agreed for this video to be on camera for the first time telling their side of the story, and apparently it's something that all of us need to hear. If that wasn't the case, if all of this conversation online was not true, the it factor here would have been a very high 8.5 out of 10. So I want to ask him some tough questions and let you all decide if what you're hearing is true or if what you're seeing online is true.
I'm the general manager here at the Ritz-Carlton Masai Mara Safari Camp, and I'm going to give you my take on everything.
First of all, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to have the conversation. I know you haven't done this a lot, and so it means a lot to me and to everyone watching that you are. My first question is the obvious one. There is a lot of conversation, conjecture, debate about the Ritz-Carlton here blocking the migration path and the Great Migration that's happening in the river right behind.
Let's talk about the migration, right? If you just do a little bit of research, you know that the wildebeest and the zebras don't cross through wooded areas. We are in the woods. So actually the closest migration point where there's high traffic is about 4 kilometers away. And if you actually go there now, you'll still see the footprints from last migration.
You are saying, to confirm, that this development is not blocking the migration route or the Great Migration for animals in this region?
We do not block the migration. I mean, look at the collar data. You'll see where the forests are, you'll see where we are, and you'll see they go around. If you and I wanted to cross, that's the place that we would want to go. The people kind of latching on to this controversy and frankly causing a lot of mental angst for us, our 201 ladies and gentlemen. If they did a little bit of research, they would know. I got to tell you, it's hard not to be emotional thinking about waking up those 2 weeks when it was really kind of turning into something that was, first of all, not fair, but bad. I mean, we read burn the Ritz-Carlton down, occupy it, and it's even now it's emotional to even think about the work that we do, but then the ignorance outside of Africa.
There's a lot of calls for permits, environmental impact reports. You have all of this documentation and you went through the standard protocol to build?
Let me kind of unpack that question a little bit. So the first one is a special exemption. Yes, you need a special exemption to build here. We are putting Kenya on the world map. We're putting an iconic brand, opening the doors to the Masai Mara to luxury guests, to really put Kenya on the map. So yes, we needed that piece of paper to be signed by the president, and it opened up so much opportunity. Again, 201 ladies and gentlemen. You can look at that as the president gave us a special exemption and we started building. If you look at it like we gave 201 ladies and gentlemen an opportunity to put food on their table, to be paid the highest amount here in Masai Mara, it opens up a lot of doors. Because they've been selected for this iconic brand. It's life-changing to work here. Even for me, it's life-changing to work here. We know our truth. We know we had all of the documentation everything was followed by the letter of the law.
That's actually a great segue into the law. There was a big lawsuit that mysteriously went away with the Ritz-Carlton. And that was basically from an environmental protection group here and a specific individual claiming that the Ritz-Carlton bill did actually damage the environment.
And that would never, ever happen here. I don't want to go into too much because it's still a pending case, but we want this to happen. We want to go through this so we can tell the world in court what we did, and we followed the letter of the law and science.
Have you felt that all of these issues and the conversation happening here has damaged the revenue for the Ritz-Carlton here? Are there real concerns of having to close down?
We really don't. We're not running into financial issues or anything like that. This is the Ritz-Carlton. This is an iconic brand. Ladies and gentlemen come here to stay, to work, and we're looking forward to be even busier once we get out of this. But no, we haven't really had any major impact.
There's a petition, I'm sure you're aware of it, where 26,000 people have signed to close down the Ritz-Carlton here. And there's a list, it seems very well researched, of all of the issues. But is there concern over this petition? Has it been something that you and Marriott have considered?
All the 26,000 people that have signed the petition, I welcome these petitions in a sense of people care. We know the good work that we're doing is what those 26,000 people want, but they just need to do a little bit of research. And then I think you'll see we're all on the same side.
I want to thank you for taking the time to do this. This has given all of the people watching and myself a lot to digest and think about.
We're happy to talk about our truth anytime.
So, thank you.
Thank you for being here.
So we've come to the end of the review, and sadly I did have to change and give those clothes back. If you add all of the scores throughout this video together, I gave the Ritz-Carlton Masai Mara a 34.5 out of 50, with the asterisk that if that it factor were higher, because it is still highly debated, it would be one of the highest scores on this channel most likely. Now I am so curious what your thoughts are. I also want to know if you want to see more investigative reviews like this in the future, so do please let me know. With that, it's time to check out. I'm Ryan Walker, and we'll see you on the next one.